Oh God.
Here she is.
Oh, what have you got on there?
A cuppa and a natter, and I've got out my Liverpool shirt, especially for you. I mean, why not? The ninth episode, I've got a footballing great alongside me. I thought I'd bring it out. My dad, the only reason why he said I was allowed to do it is because I'm drinking from his West Ham mug. So, Karen Bardsley, cheers to you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. I think it's such a great idea what you're doing. I really like it. I love, how you've come up with the whole thing.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's a pleasure to have you. As I said, an absolute football legend. Okay, so grew up in California
That's
to
right.
English parents. You
Hmm.
started playing football at the age of 4,
Yeah, 4 or 5.
and
Yep.
since then, yeah, you've had a bit of an established, illustrious career to say the least, and now obviously as one of the best goalkeepers in the world right now, which is fair to say. Just a few of your achievements. You've played in the top divisions in Holland, uh, America, Sweden, England, where you currently play for Man City. But I mean, there's still hope if you see some. Where you've obviously, been really successful in winning all the domestic and cup titles there is to win in women's football in this country. And as well, your international career is remarkable. 81 England caps, 3 World Cups, 3 European Championships, 1 Olympic Games. I mean, it's fair to say you are footballing royalty. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Is that enough for you?
Oh
Is that
gosh, I'm blushing.
right?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty great introduction. Thanks. No, I appreciate that. I mean, you've won quite a lot of medals yourself, and you've been, to the Commonwealth Games, and you've done really well. So let's not forget that.
No, it's honestly, I'm absolutely buzzing. If you can't tell already, I'm absolutely buzzing. But without further ado, let's kick things off. Okay. So what I want to know, and what everyone else wants to know about you, is how you like your tea. Okay. I'm gonna
Oh
ask
gosh.
you. I'm gonna ask you 5 quick fire questions, if that's all right.
Oh, okay. You didn't tell me about this part. All right.
Ready? Okay. Question number 1: breakfast tea, herbal tea.
Oh, breakfast tea.
Okay. Milk, sugar, or neither?
Milk.
Yorkshire tea, Twinings, or Earl Grey?
Oh, Yorkshire, 100%.
Oh my God. I mean, everyone's saying Yorkshire tea. I'm a big Twinings lover.
No, no, Yorkshire is the way to go. It's the best.
All right. Okay. Question number 4. Which of your Manchester City teammates are you most likely to make a cup of tea for?
Oh gosh.
This is huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll make a cup of tea for anyone that asks, to be fair.
Oh
Yeah, I'm
my
one of
God.
those.
I'm,
But
you
let's see. I
travel
think we're a lot
far.
of coffee drinkers, so usually I'm making the brews.
All right, fair enough. I mean, yeah, no. Okay, so question number 5. Which of your Manchester City teammates are you most likely to share the biscuit accompaniment with?
Oh no, you killed me here as well. I don't eat biscuits, so
Oh my God, athlete, go on. Um,
yeah, I don't do biscuits. I'm most likely to share some, like I don't know, carrot sticks with somebody.
right. What about carrot sticks and hummus? Who are you most likely to share it with?
Janine Becky, 100%.
Really? Is she a bit of a carrot
Yeah,
stick
she's
lover?
she's yeah, she's our Canadian international. Yeah, she's a bit of a health freak like me. So, oh, that's nice. Hi
Oh,
guys.
there we go. All right then. Well, that's very interesting. Karen Bardsley does not like biscuits. You heard it here
No, no,
right.
that's not true. I love biscuits. I just don't eat
Oh,
them.
okay. You need to give me a few tips this season, thanks. I need all the help I can get to stay away from them.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
tempting in lockdown, isn't it?
I know. The temptation's too real. Okay, well, that's all very interesting. So I think without further ado, we might as well kick things off. Okay, so my first question comes from my guest on Thursday's Cup and Natter, swimming legend Kerry-Anne Payne. Okay, now this is a cracking
Okay.
question, and I'm intrigued what you're going to say. She wants to know, how do you make challenging decisions, and how do you respond to challenges? Very hard question, but I love it.
Oof. No, this is a great question. I think you should ask this for everyone that comes on your show. Um, right. So how do I make decisions, challenging decisions? For me, usually, I mean, I'm a pretty pragmatic person, so I like to kind of weigh up my options logically. Usually, I get kind of like a gut feel about things, so I do kind of listen to that occasionally, but I like to do like a list of pros and cons. That for me is probably the best thing that I could possibly do. And I try to like give myself enough time to kind of think through, what could go well, what could not go well. And this is kind of nerdy, but like I have an action plan
Yeah,
that usually has, what things could potentially look like, and I kind of tick that off. And is that in alignment with what I want to do? And is that kind of something different? But yeah, usually I have a pretty good feel about what I want to do and where my goals are. So I try to make my decisions based on the goals that I set myself.
it's
Um,
very rational. It sounds very logical. I mean, Kerry-Anne was exactly the same in that she just said, okay, breathe. That's what I tell myself. I
yeah.
tell myself to breathe. And I feel like there's a few similarities here.
Yeah, I think when you're making important decisions, it's really important, like obviously, to be aware of your emotions and what your gut's telling you. But I think anytime I've ever made an emotional decision in my life, it just completely backfired. So usually I try to just like step away from that and just, give yourself the 24, 48-hour rule and just kind of go, right, what do I really want to do? And then maybe, speak to someone that's been through a similar situation. Like I used to ask my parents quite a lot, and then, they just got to a point when they couldn't really help me anymore because I was going through such unique situations that they'd never really been exposed to.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I've got some good mentors and some good friends that can, ask me good questions, make me kind of think about decisions a little bit. But yeah, in regards to your question about challenges, oof, I like a challenge, I think. Usually if I get a challenge, it's someone telling me that I can't do something. So I'm kind of like, well, I'll show you then. So that's usually what gets me really motivated.
I suppose that sort of mindset, you don't get to the level where you've got to in your career without that sort of, I'll challenge, I'll take up on whatever challenge you give me. But I guess hearing you talk is fascinating. But in terms of where you said that you don't necessarily make those split second decisions, now as a goalie, I think, these are split second decisions all the time. Do you come for this cross? Do you, when the through ball's being played, do you come off your line or not? When you're in play, I take it that's a completely different mindset.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I think anything on the pitch is like completely different, like you become a different person, which you'll know, you're more than aware of that. Like the intensity, the competition comes out, and you don't become a different person, but like levels are heightened, aren't they? So and I think you kind of after so many years of playing the game, you start to recognize situations. So for me, say if it's a 1v1 situation, and there's a big distance between the attacker and the ball, then I know that I'm going to have more time to go and slide at the feet or kind of make a block or a spread based on distances and things like that. So it changes quite a lot the higher up you get in terms of what you pay attention to. But usually I think more than anything, it's just how much you back yourself. So, I know what I'm good at, and I try to do that when I can, so if it's coming for a cross and dominating my area, then like I'll do that as much as I can possibly do it. But it's also making the decision and weighing it up. I can't necessarily come for every single cross, and you try to put, you try to give yourself the best, what's the word I'm looking for? the highest statistical chance
Sure.
to get, to a cross or make a save or something like that. So that's, is that starting position? Is that reading the flight of the ball early? Is that where you set people up? So, yeah, it's all instinct.
That's,
So,
yeah, that's skill actually comes through years of experience, right? And I guess that kind of moves me on nicely to my second question. In
mhm.
that, obviously, throughout your career, you've been a huge factor in, inspiring young girls to play the sport, inspiring the nation to take note of women's football in this country. A few more achievements. You were part of the squad that came runners up in the 2009 Europeans. You were part of the squad that played in Olympic Games for the very first time, the very first Team GB women's team. You won the Shebeleys Cup in 2009. But what really sticks out to me, and I can imagine probably yourself too, was that 2015 FIFA World Cup. Now, I remember it very, very vividly, mostly because my mum was always moaning at me for staying up ridiculously late to watch your games. I mean, it's fair to say you had the tournament of your life. So, just to put things into perspective, it was the first time that an England team had ever won a knockout game in a major tournament. You guys then went on to come third in the world, which is remarkable. Along the way, you won 2 Player of the Match awards yourself, and also got nominated into the FIFA All-Star Tournament of the Team. I mean, remarkable, absolutely incredible. And I guess I want to know, like, from starting back in California, aged 4, the little girl with, big dreams, did you ever foresee the success that you were going to have, especially on that international stage in tournaments such as the World Cup, which are the most biggest tournaments in women's football? Did you ever predict that you were going to reach those heights?
Oh gosh. Wow, those are some great questions. I'm super impressed with your knowledge, by the way. I think you should maybe start reporting on women's football. um,
I'm an absolute
y- y-
hell, mate. I'm huge fan.
I love it. Man, yeah. So yeah, that was a huge year for me, a really big year. Like you said, lots of firsts, not only for me personally, but obviously for the team as well. It didn't start out so great, to be honest. I think I personally probably had some nerves and some jitters, but as the tournament went on, and you kind of get used to, we're playing on an Astro surface as well. As the tournament went on, you kind of get used to that, and you understand like the game might look a little bit different. And yeah, so our performances started to get a lot better. My personal performance started to improve, and I took a lot of confidence from that. And I think,
Yeah.
it just kind of accelerated. And to be honest, I don't think we could really put a finger on what exactly it was. I think we just kind of, we kept scoring goals, um, started gathering momentum. And yeah, the biggest moment for me was, there's a few of them, to be fair. I think we played Colombia, and I ended up making a save towards the end of the first half, and this was totally inspired by Peter Schmeichel. It was a big
Oh,
star save, and I absolutely took the ball to the face, and the ball went flying, and everyone was screaming for a penalty, and it was one of those things where you just have to kind of like embrace the moment and just go for it, and think, right, I'm going to put all my worries and fears aside and just go for it in this moment. And I think that's probably when I relinquished that fear, is when I became the most free and the most able to perform at my highest level. And I think that moment propelled me forward throughout the tournament. It obviously sent us, put us in good stead going into the Norwegian game. And, we didn't, we didn't start out so well. And I had to make some pretty big saves, and, everyone was talking about Ed Hegerberg and how good she was, and I came out for a 1v1 and did a spread,
yeah.
and kept us in the game. So there were some really big individual moments for me, and I think I was just really, I don't know, I just really enjoyed every moment after that Colombian game onwards. Before I kind of was putting a lot of pressure on myself, and I wasn't really embracing it. And I think once I let go of that, I did really, really well. And it was just nice to see my friends and my family in the stands as well, you know, like being that close to America. A lot of um, my college roommates and stuff came with me, and I could see them in the stands, and we had like a special clap that we did so I could spot where everyone was,
Yeah.
you know. So it was just really great. And yeah, to kind of break that barrier. And you know, after the game in Canada, and you know, we ended up beating the hosts, which was the first time I'd ever felt deafening noise like in my body, you know. It was a really hostile crowd, and we managed to win. And I remember when Canada actually scored, the game finished, I think it was 2-1. When Canada scored, you could just feel the noise in your chest. It was insane. Um, and then yeah, moving forward, obviously, we went to Edmonton and played Japan, and that was a heartbreaker, obviously. A lot of, you know, coulda, wouldas, and what would have happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was an absolute heartbreaker. But to be fair to the team, and you know, we all rallied together. We had a meeting after the game, and we all just kind of looked at each other and said, you know, like, we don't want to leave this tournament without something. You know, we've done so well. So we had a day off, and we all said, listen, you guys go do whatever it is that you need to do to get over this, and come back here, you know, tomorrow by the end of the day, ready to go and beat Germany. And to be fair, everyone did, you know, whatever it was that they needed to do. I think most of us went to the mall because there was like a roller coaster inside, and like there's an ice rink and a water park. So we all just went nuts in this mall and just had a great time. And it was hard. It was hard to kind of partition such a blowing defeat. And someone just commented on your shirt. uh, it was hard to kind of
Excited.
stop that. Yeah. It was hard to kind of get over that, but we managed to do it. And you know, we took that self-belief into the game against Germany and ended up winning. And it was honestly, it's hard to describe because yeah, it's a bronze medal, but we managed that we'd beaten before. We managed to get, you know, some silverware in a World Cup that we never had before. So
Yeah.
it was an amazing, amazing experience for me. Sorry, that was a bit long.
No, it's incredible, really. And actually hearing it from yourself in that tournaments are always really hard, I think, because it only takes, you know, one mistake or one shift in momentum, and that could just flip the tables. And actually,
Yeah,
for
it's true.
yourself as a goalie, I think it's, you know, the most pressurized position on the pitch, in my opinion. Like, you could become, you know, one mistake and you lose a game, one match winning save, and then you're the hero. And actually, hearing what you said about that Colombia game that you took forward into the rest of the tournament, really interesting to hear. And obviously, the rest day did you all wonders before that third
The Germany game,
the
yeah.
off. That's the secret.
It's all up here. It really is.
Um,
I mean, obviously you got the right position to
yeah.
like to do that physically, but it's all up there.
Incredible. I mean, yeah, really, really interesting. And I guess I want to like shift in terms of, you mentioned that how, you know, the third place in a World Cup, it was the first time that you made it out of the group and won a knockout game, highest rank that the team's ever been. And in terms of, you know, the domestic game in this country, it's going from strength to strength at the moment. It's obviously got Barclays on board from last year, which is the biggest investment within women's sport in the UK, and the WSL now being the first fully professional women's football league in the world, which is incredible. You've got your games being played in bigger stadiums such as Stamford Bridge, you know, the Etihad. We've got more games being played at Wembley. It's all incredible. It's going in the right direction, in my opinion. But I want to hear what you think in terms of, do you think all of this development and investment within women's football in this country is sufficient enough to change that social stereotype and perception of women's football in this country? And also, will it be enough to encourage young girls to play the sport?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I do really think that we are heading in the right direction. And like you said, it's been proven that this is um, something that people want to take part in, in the games at the Etihad. I think the Derby was a perfect example when we played United. Like, it's just a different type of experience. There were, families there that are divided, but they still managed to have a good day. And, like, the
Yeah.
atmosphere was class. And, you take the Stamford Bridge games. I think didn't West Ham play at the Olympic Stadium?
Yeah, Tottenham.
Yeah.
We won't
Yeah.
mention
So I
the
mean,
score. We won't mention the score, unfortunately. Yeah.
but yeah, England playing at Wembley, obviously the FA Cup games at Wembley. Yeah, they're all
Yeah.
massive stages for us to play on. So I think the more opportunities we can, take to kind of try and fill those stadiums and get women's football on a bigger stage, the better. And it just takes time. I think, like any
Yeah.
change, it just takes time. So hopefully, like, we'll see more of that in the next few seasons to come. In
Yeah.
regards to your other question about, continuing to change the perception of women's football and women's sport in this country, I think that's a big part of it. Making sure that, we are seen and on the biggest stages. But I think at the same time we have to ensure that the product is still uh, a good product, and I think
Oh,
that's what we need people to see more. So by games being televised, etc., getting people's bums in seats um,
yeah.
to some of the top quality games, then they'll definitely understand that women's football is a good quality product.
Mm.
And so that's something that I'm really interested in promoting, and continuing to join up with organizations like Women's Sporting Trust to kind of make sure that people understand that, um, you know, women and girls, young girls, can strive to be professional athletes, professional footballers. Yeah, so I'm very proud to be a part of that because I think socially it's making some big
Yeah.
changes. So yeah, very happy.
I couldn't agree more. And actually, I think, the rise in women's football finally, in my opinion, is, getting the coverage and attention that it deserves. But also, the fact that how successful you guys have been over the last decade, that's, really put football on the map. So props to you guys as well for doing your part. And, I couldn't agree more with what you're saying in terms of let's hope that we continue to see football going from strength to strength in this country. So cheers to that.
Yeah,
Really
cheers, love
interesting.
that.
Now, I hope you don't mind, but I feel like I've asked enough questions at you. I've fired them across like no tomorrow. So I've got a lot of social media questions right now, and let's crack on. Let's crack on. Okay, so I've
All
got one
right, all right.
on Instagram. Okay, and she said she's a hockey goalie, but I like to play football at school as well. Do you have any advice on how to keep concentration when you haven't touched the ball for ages? I
Ooh.
I feel like I daydream a lot, and my teacher is always telling me off.
That's a
Bless
great
her.
question.
Poor
I love
Hannah.
that. I I
Yeah.
had I had the same problem when I was younger. I used
Oh,
to when I was in goal and I was probably what, 5, 7 years old. Um, oh gosh, like the ball would be at the other end of the pitch and I'd be chasing butterflies or, picking dandelions or, just like doing cartwheels and stuff because I was just bored. I just wanted to be running around. So, yeah, I definitely can relate. I think the best way for me to answer this, and again, it's probably like a little nerdy, um, football super geek, super goalkeeper tip,
yeah.
is think about, you know, when you are facing like the biggest threat. So when the ball's at the end of the pitch, the opposite end, so by the opposition's goal, um, the likelihood of you having to be called into action is pretty low. So, I mean, you don't technically switch off, but just for lack of a better word, you can kind of switch off a little bit. And
You chase
imagine, say again, yeah, you can chase the occasional butterfly. It's fine, yeah. um, and then imagine it is like a funnel. So the closer the ball gets, the higher focus you have to have. And that's probably the best way for me to explain, you know, how your concentration level should improve the closer the ball gets to your goal. I
Well,
guess another way to do it is just by communicating to your team. By communicating to your team,
sure.
you're always kind of switched on because you kind of know what's going on. So by organizing your defense and things like that, you can kind of stay involved. I hope that's helpful.
Fantastic. I hope that Hannah doesn't get told off from her teacher anymore.
I
You
know.
know,
That's the
practice
biggest
that
thing
funnel.
is like you need to be in the good
For
books.
goalkeepers. Yeah. Okay. I've got another one from Paul on Instagram. This is a good
All
one.
right.
Who is the greatest player you have played with and played against?
Oh my gosh. Oh, these are tough.
There's been a
Um,
yeah.
yeah, there's been a few.
Yeah.
I think Kelly Smith is by far one of the best that I've played with and probably played against, to be fair. Her vision of the game and her technical ability, she had an absolute wand of a left foot. Um, and I think one of my favorite things was she didn't really have like a big, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, like wind up in terms of like when her foot was about to strike the ball, like she didn't have a big backlift. So she could just kind of like snap a pass or like snap a shot really, really quickly, and you didn't always see it coming. Um, Obviously, I think Marta was always a threat. So anytime we played against Marta and any of the Brazilian teams, like we always knew that technically they're very good, and she's
Yeah.
rapid. So any ball in behind is gonna be an issue. Um, I'm trying to think in terms of, yeah, those are the top two that have kind of really stuck out. I had the good fortune of playing against, well, I don't know if it's good fortune or not, but I've had the honor of playing against Abby Wambach and some really top
Yeah.
caliber players that are just, you know, constant threats. Even Christine Sinclair from Canada is one of the top players. Yes, someone mentioned Megan Rapinoe. Yes, I played against her.
Right as well.
So yeah, you know, but yeah, I think everyone kind of offers something a little different in their own right. But I'm trying to think. I've had the good fortune of playing with like a lot of really talented players and just getting to know them off the pitch as well. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
lessons that I can learn from every single one of them.
I mean, yeah, as a football fan, Kelly Smith was, when I was growing up, Kelly Smith was always one of those players where you'd watch her play and I'd always be like, how have you just scored that goal? Or, you know, how have you found
Yeah.
that pass? She was one of those players who could ping it left, right, and centre, and I'd be like, how have you just done that? And
Yeah.
obviously, Marta, one of the players of all time. So, fair enough. Good choices, I must add. Well, I feel I had loads more, but we're kind of running out of time. My mug is pretty much empty.
I
30
know
minutes
mine's
is enough.
getting there.
Yeah. So I feel like I've got one more thing to ask of you, if that's all right.
Sure, sure.
Now, I'm going to give you all the power, and you're going to decide what my first question is going to be for my next couple of natter guests, which is on Thursday. Okay, so make it a good one. I'm giving you all the power here.
Oh boy. See,
Yeah.
the first thing that popped into my head was something that like wouldn't really be that deep. It was kind of like, what's your favorite film or something
All
like
right.
that. But
Yeah, I was going to say there's a
I
but
feel
here.
like I've yeah, I've been given a really, really good question to start with, which I think is it needs reciprocating.
That's why
So let's
I
see.
just say I knew I could count on you.
Pardon?
I said that's why I signed you up. I knew I could count on you.
All right. Yeah, well, let's see if you're right. I don't know. I always kind of want to know what other people's perceptions are of different types of sports, or like what a bit like what you asked me, kind of as a child, did they ever see themselves achieving what they've achieved? Because I don't think I've actually answered that question for you. I think it was always a bit of a joke that my friends and I were gonna, well, we're gonna go to the Olympics, or oh, I'd love to do this, and like always thought it was gonna happen, but never
Yeah.
really certain it would until you get to a certain point.
No.
But I think probably I'm always interested in people's challenges and um, how they choose to handle them. So probably something around what what was their biggest challenge, or maybe like what was their biggest regret in terms of something that they wish they would have done, or something that they're really proud that they've done. So like an example for me, I guess, would be the story that my dad always told me when I was a kid, um, about how he wanted to move to America to find an opportunity to make his life better. And he said that he could never live with the regret of not doing it, because he could
Right.
always come back to England if it didn't work. And that's
Sure.
something that's definitely my life. I've never been able to deal with that, like, oh, what if? Like, I need to go and find out for myself. So I guess, long story short, um, have there been any regrets, or anything that you would change, or anything that you would do differently in your professional career? Do you think that's
That
a
is
good question?
a great question. So Ben, I'm, I'm the only one that knows who my guest is on Thursday. It's an absolute cracker
Okay.
of question. I am so intrigued already.
All right. Oh,
Yeah,
great. I'll make sure I tune in so I can
yeah,
find out what the answer is.
yeah.
Because
Well,
I love hearing about people's journeys, and
yeah.
I love learning from, you know, anyone I can. So
Well, I mean, you've done exactly that for me tonight. So thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it.
that's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. And I wish I could have asked you some more questions, because
No,
I
no.
feel like I've got tons for you. So I'll just have to host my own.
Well, if you fancy hosting your own cup and natter, that's absolutely fine. But no, in the meantime, thank you so much. As I said, we know my next question for my guest on Thursday, which will be revealed on Wednesday at 5 p.m. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But in the meantime, keep that kettle boiled, keep nattering using hashtag cup and natter, and I see you on Thursday, same time, same place. Karen Bardsley, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for everyone to tune in. We really appreciate you. So make sure you stay safe out there. Look after each other.
What she said. Couldn't have put it better myself. See you later. Thank you. See you
All
later.
right, toodles. See you later.